All right, everyone, welcome to the show. It's been a while. We haven't done one of these in a while. But tonight we're going to be talking to Zippo. And Zippo is from Western Maryland. And he has some really interesting stories about some extraterrestrial encounters that you're not going to want to miss these. And I'm looking forward to hearing them too. A lot of strange things has happened to him out there. And I'm going to let him get into that. But Zippo, welcome to the show.
Howdy. Thanks for having me.
No, it's been a long time coming. We've been trying to set this up for a long time. I'm glad we finally had time to get to it. But recently,
Yeah.
you've had some even stranger things happen that weren't even initially what we had been talking about before. So I'll let you start wherever you want. If you want to give like a little backstory of how things led up to this, I'll let you take the stage here.
Okay. Well, actually, I was never really into any of this sort of stuff. You know what I mean? It was just not part of my family and how I grew up. We just didn't talk about certain things, and this was definitely one of those things. And so this happened in 1991, the first time that I ever experienced anything extremely crazy uh, with any kind of extraterrestrial experience. Now, this was uh, it never touched me physically at that time, but it, uh, it definitely did some other extraordinary things that we'll get into. But this all happened in 1991, and it was, I'm assuming, like right when school let out. And I think there was a couple more weeks of school to go, but this was in 1991, so I'd have been about 13 years old. So I brought up a bunch of people, and we camped out on the lake on a deck uh, on a lake out here. And it was a couple of the neighborhood kids up in here in the neighborhood in Maryland that I'm from, and then some of the kids from back where I grew up in high school and went to high school in Pennsylvania, in Western Pennsylvania. So we had some people up here with us, some kids from school, and then there was some neighborhood kids from this part of Maryland and one of their friends, and we all camped out on the back of the deck. And my parents were in the cabin. So what happened is we're all out on the deck, and a couple of my buddies went back inside, and I had a pull-out couch at that time, and a couple of my buddies pulled that couch out and were asleep, and they didn't want to sleep out on the deck and do all that. But so we're all laying there. It's probably, I don't know, like maybe 1:45 in the morning. It wasn't extremely late. It wasn't like past 2 or anything. Um, we all started to hear this sound, and I'm like, we're all kind of like wondering what the heck this sound is. And it was like a really, really strange hum. I've never heard anything like this before in my life. And it just kept progressively getting louder as it approached the deck where we were sleeping. And when it was like in our perimeter directly, like coming up on our deck, that's when we noticed what it was. And that was very, very strange I don't know what it was. I can only assume that this was something that wasn't, I don't know where it was from, but I never saw tech like that before. So I'll get into what this thing looked like and what it was riding on, and then what it did to all of us. And that was pretty crazy situation. So what ended up happening is it showed up. It was like nauseatingly loud, this sound that it was producing. Um, it just almost made you nauseous. It was almost hypnotic as well. But this thing looked like a bike, like you know, like a trail bike. Like a Honda CRX or whatever, like a decent sized trail bike, but there was no wheels on this thing. And this being was sitting on this thing and like riding it, but it levitated, it hovered. So it was right at the corner of the deck, just hovering in front of us, and all these crazy lights and just the sound of this was so incredibly loud, um, that I was just waiting for like my parents to, come out, like, what the heck's going on? Because that's how insanely loud it is. I didn't, it was very strange that no one, uh, besides us who were directly, involved in this, had even, you know, heard these things or experienced them. Like my parents were in their room and isolated from whatever this thing was doing to us. But so I did not really get an really spectacular view of this thing. I never really wanted to look at it directly. I kind of just gave it side-eyed glances, and especially when it was speaking to us telepathically, like, um, that was really really creepy. So like I just didn't even want to make eye contact with this thing, or if I did it, I needed to do it as little as possible because it was just creepy. So this thing starts to communicate with us. uh, my friends that were on the pull-out bed did experience this. And that happened through a row of sliding glass doors that lead out to the deck. Um, that's where that pull-out bed was, and they definitely heard that it was also communicating to them, but it seemed like it was communicating independently with all of us, but like different things. It was telling us to do different things. It wasn't just, some random dictation for everyone to hear. Each person had a individual, um, whatever, you know what I mean, telepathically. It was very strange. So these kids are starting to freak out, man, because this thing is very bizarre. It looked like this machine that was hovering that you ride in, like a futuristic motorcycle. With the noises it was making and the lights that it was producing, were just very very strange. So these kids start freaking out and it starts telling us to do all this stuff. So um, this one kid starts puking, and some kids are crying. My buddies that were on that pullout were underneath the bed, like huddled against the wall, and they were tripping out, like just rocking back and forth when this was all done, and just like this didn't happen. This just in disbelief that this happened. But yeah, it told me and my buddy to go inside and shut the door, and it's then all this crazy stuff happened. Like it was very strange because after it told us to go inside, um, I just remember hearing very intense mechanical noises that were very odd and but just so ignorantly loud, that like it's insane that no one else heard this or was woke up. You'd have figured a mile away someone would have heard this. And anyway, so that's what happened. And like I just remember it getting extremely loud, and those kids were crying and like hitting the door, and that this thing was communicating with us telepathically. And yeah, that was the one story. So that would have been in about like what, 91, something like that, the early 90s.
And can I ask you a couple questions about that one? Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
that what do you remember exactly what all it was trying to tell you guys telepathically, aside
Well,
from going inside?
yeah, like what I was trying to tell you is it wasn't communicating a direct order to everybody. Do you get what I'm saying, man?
Uh huh.
Like it communicated to all of us different things all at once, um telepathically, and it was just the craziest situation ever. Um like I said, these kids were puking, man. That's how scared they were, and they were beating on the windows and trying to get in the house. But like this thing was just so crazy early. It was just crazy. I can't. It would like shut you down, and you couldn't move, or it would just like make you turn around and look the other way. Like that's what it had us do. My friend Chris and I, we just came in the door because that's what it told us to do. It said to go into the house and shut the door behind you, and that it would be over in a minute, and that it would be gone.
Wow.
And
You know what
yeah,
that
yeah,
it kind of sounds like? It reminds me of those things they see down in South America, that they're riding some sort of vehicle. There was a whole village that was terrorized a while back, and
yeah,
this
the face peeler thing.
something like, yeah, I think that might have been the one. Says it slightly
Yeah,
resembles that, and then the mechanical sounds. That's very common with UFO sightings, and also with even cryptid sightings. People claim they hear mechanical sounds in the woods, and then they have these weird experiences.
yeah, yeah.
So that,
That was by far one of the strangest things, and because it happened to like 8 people, you know what I mean, man. That was really crazy. None of those people want to talk about it that are still alive, that were there. A lot of the people that were there actually passed away from either military or you know fast living or whatnot. I don't know, man. I didn't keep up with a lot of those people after that actual instance and went down because that was so weird. That was about the last trip that anybody wanted to come down to Maryland. You know what I mean, man? Like, uh, that was definitely bizarre, and it made people sick as far as like the effect of it. Like, I don't know, man. Like it told us to do specific things. And like, I don't know what happened to those people out on the deck. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what happened. I wasn't there. Uh, my friend Chris and I came into the sliding glass door. I shut it, locked it, and then, yeah, uh, all that's kind of blocked out. So
Understandable,
I have
definitely.
no, I have no clue what this thing wanted. Um, yeah, man. I mean, I've read a little bit and watched a documentary on that same thing you're talking about with the they call them the face peelers or whatever, or that instance, and they tried to corner some girl in some village, and two of them were on those disc like things that supposedly, and they have like kind of like invisibility suits or whatnot, like cloaking suits.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, that's a whole other thing. That I don't know what this was, man. It was just the weirdest thing ever. And like I said, it reminded me of like some futuristic motorcycle without wheels. Um, yeah, it was very strange instance, and scared the crap out of all those people. And like even me and my friend Chris, when we do talk about that instance, man. Yeah, it's very strange.
Definitely strange for real.
Yeah.
And you've had some other experiences as well after that. That was one of your first.
Yeah.
So where does it go from there?
So this next one, um, where I was directly like awake during this abduction, that where I was taken out of this house, right? And so this would have been about 2014, I guess. I just come back from Colorado. I went out to stay with a buddy out on his farm in Colorado for almost a year. And then I went to Texas after that for a little bit, and then came back to the East Coast. So at that point, I had two dogs, two mountain curs is what I have. I had to adopt out the one dog because I had gotten into a car accident and could no longer physically handle two dogs that pull. Two hunting dogs like that. Mountain curs are pretty serious animals. They do what they want. They're kind of like beagles. But anyhow, uh, I was back here, and I remember I went to sleep in the bed, and both of the dogs were on either side of me, right? And I'm sleeping, or it felt like I was sleeping, but I wasn't sleeping. I was still awake because I experienced the whole thing. Whatever their tech is that makes you go docile or whatever, that frequency wasn't working, and it was like I experienced the whole thing. So I'm laying in bed, seemingly sleeping, but you know, I'm just laying there with the dogs, and all of a sudden, I feel myself floating, right? And I'm like starting to float, and about 4.5, 5 feet off the ground. And I'm staring at the ceiling, right? And I'm like, what is going on, man? And I rotate, and now I'm facing down, and I see my dogs exactly where I was laying on both sides, totally just there chilling, sleeping. They weren't concerned at all. And then I started moving, and I went through the door and out into the hallway. And that's when I was like, this is real. I am like levitating. Something is moving me. And yeah, I have to bring this up because prior to that, like the day or so before, I had pulled that device I was telling you about. It's like it looked like a little bit smaller than a grain of rice. It was almost like a rye seed. That's how big it was. But it had this gelatinous stuff around it, man. It wasn't like um, a cyst or anything like that. This thing was completely mechanical. I looked at it with a microscope, and it was mind bending, man. It looked mechanical. There was chips and stuff in it, and but they were on such a small scale. It was amazing to look at it. So I immediately, when I squeezed that out of my neck area, and once I got that out, I looked at it obviously, and I was like, "Wow, that's not a you know that's not a normal extraction that one would have from a bump on one's body." You know what I mean? Um, so when I got into it in more detail, I put it in plastic, and I was kind of in a rush that morning that I actually got that out um, prior to the event that happened after work. But anyway, I went to work, and when I got home, the sample that I had taken out of my neck, this chip or whatever, this it looked like a living machine type interface. It was very weird, man. It was gone. It didn't fall out, blow out. Definitely, someone went into the house and took that because it was not there. Because I was really wanting to see it when I got home. So anyway, I ended up coming home and just crashing, like I said, and I'm crashed out with my dogs, and I started levitating, and they're taking me out into the hallway, seemingly, and out the back deck. And I started to freak out, and I grabbed a hold of my fireplace, which is like stone. So, like, uh, it's funny when I was doing some colleges with the adventure sports, some college stuff with Adventure Sports Institute. Uh, some of the climber people would go ballistic over my fireplace, and all these like climbing people would always do these routes on my fireplace because it was like, you can grab a hold of it, man. You can actually climb it. So I grab a hold and start kicking my feet, and I'm got both hands on a grip on in the grout in between this old school stone and grout fireplace, and I kicked one of them, and once I kicked it, I don't know what that did, but these things um, have some sort of suits on, and they're about 4.5 feet tall. They're they're built like 8-year-old children. Um, it's like a little 8-year-old kid. Think that's the stature, and they wear these suits, and they have these devices that they carry with them to help enable them do whatever, tasks or whatnot that they have, um, so that they can do them with, a fraction of the you know, hands-on power than it would take. So like 5 of these things could take one person and administrate that the whole way through and whatnot. So I can only assume that that's how they do this, because there was about 5 of them. But like I said, when I kicked this thing, they pretty much all dropped me except for like 1 or 2, and you could tell their devices were still on me because I was like half floating, and like the other 3 went to the aid of the one that I kicked, and the one that I kicked was obviously not in a good way. I saw it briefly manifest, that was very strange too. When that happened, it like shimmered, and I was able to see their tools that they use. Like I said, very strange stuff, man. So that happened, and I'm still like kind of half hanging onto the wall. And then they come back and regroup, and they slammed me on the steps. I have like a little step that goes up to the upper floor from the lower floor, and these things pinned me to those steps, man. Like to where I couldn't move. And then all of a sudden I heard, like, I don't know if you've ever been in a tornado before, like a serious one. Um, but you're, like, and I mean like right near one. They're frightening, man. The noises that they make are just mind bending. You just wouldn't expect it, but it's so loud. So that's what I was hearing. It was so loud, and as I was pinned there, I was watching these. It looked like dashed lines dripping from the ceiling, man, like encompassing everywhere in that perimeter, in that room. It just looked like glitter dripping down from the ceiling, but it was gold, and it flowed. It was very strange, man. And then that turned into this white, intense light that was like had purples in it. And then I remember screaming because I knew, like, you know, that was it, man. They had me down, and this was actually painful, and I was fully aware the whole time of what was going on. Um, and yeah, so I wake up on the couch that next day or whatever, the morning, that next morning. Um, I wake up on my couch, and I never get up and sleepwalk. I don't get up in the middle of the night and wander around. I stay in my bed. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's just my norm. So like that's how I knew that this was all legit. And I had noticed that they put another whatever those grain bio grains in my skin. They put this one way deeper into my muscle, in the back of my neck, a little bit off from the one that I was able to successfully remove. Um, but yeah, this one is much deeper, and I woke up on the couch, and it is just very bizarre, man. Definitely. I don't know if you want to talk about their devices. What I noticed about their devices that they have, um, very strange.
Yeah, I would definitely like to hear more about the devices, but I would also like to ask you, when you were floating and before you roadhouse that alien or whatever it was, before
Right.
before you roadhouse that thing, could you see them before that, or were they invisible?
No, no, they were completely invisible. They were cloaked. Like
Okay.
I said, they have these suits on,
Uh-huh.
no masks. I'm assuming the suit also takes care of their faces. I don't know, or maybe that's an integrated thing, or since there's some sort of clone, maybe it's all just integrated into the clone, or I don't know.
And can you describe them in like facial details or what else? I know it was probably a strange experience, but
They reminded me of children, dude. Like
like
uh,
humanoid.
yeah, yeah, like humanoid, but they were built like little kids, and kind of like just like worker ants, you know what I mean? Like they didn't have ant like features. They had features like you see all those the classic little 4 foot grays.
So they did look like the gray alien type.
Yeah, yeah, but their eyes weren't like the big bulbous ones that they show you on TV.
Mm-hmm.
This thing had like somewhat normal eyes. It looked like maybe they were larger, but they weren't like egg shaped or almond shaped and gigantic and telescopic. No, no, these things just had like defined brows, like all the features from like an alien picture. The churched up version of the alien, but just like minus all those exaggerations. You know what I mean?
Right. No hair or ears or anything
No,
like that.
no, I didn't see any hair. But like I said, I only saw the one, and I saw it briefly, and I know I heard it really badly because the rest of them pretty much dropped me to go attend to this thing. And I pinballed this thing in the hallway. It just slammed off the walls and hit the door and just crumpled. And I saw it glitch as it was like, I guess I made it malfunction, and that's the way I was being able to see this stuff. But I was able to see that it dropped this. It looked like, okay. Have you ever seen the top of a crutch, that foam part they give you when you go to the hospital and you got to get crutches? It's that weird hot dog bun
Oh, sure. Sure.
top of the crutch. So that's the only way that I could describe what these devices look like these handheld things, right? Um, so that's what they look like. They look like at the top of a crutch, and they're holding them in their hand. Um, and there's really no definable buttons or dials or anything. Seemed to be totally interfaced within the individual, or the suit that it was wearing, or both. And it was just doing the weirdest things. Like I said, it could lift like 4 or 5 of them could lift a 250, 300 pound person and move them around with no problem with these devices. And that's how they do it. And the other interesting thing is they can walk right through glass. They don't have to open up doors. Um, these devices they have can actually, they're almost like personal dimensional, uh, just or it just breaks down matter to a level to where it could just be walked through. I don't know if they're doing that with frequencies or what, but this was a crazy looking thing, and they're so goofy looking. Like I was just like, man, I thought that if I ever saw alien tech ever in my life, that it wouldn't look all weird like the top of a crutch, or like, some imbecile holding a banana. Like that's what it reminded me of. They all have them, and they're all like 4.5 feet tall, and that's how they get the people in and out and around, and without much effort. They do all kinds of things. They put you, in a stupor. They can. It just like probably works off the electromagnetics of the brain, and just targets. Well, there's my dog just crying. But yeah, yeah, this thing was crazy, man. And like I could notice that they had suits on, but it didn't seem like I saw their hands. It looked like they had some sort of shoes on, but they had suits on. I only saw the one, and briefly the others, kind of a little bit, when they disconnected and went to go for the one that I had pinballed. So yeah, that's what I saw. The noticeable things that I saw from the experience. Um, and I know there was at least five of them there. Um, so
It
yeah,
sounds like that you probably kind of perturbed them because first of all, you removed what they implanted in you, and then second of all, you roadhoused that one against the wall. So they probably weren't very happy with you as a specimen, I would imagine.
no, or their project or whatever it is. I don't know. Um,
Can I ask you a little bit more about the implant? So, the implant that you originally found, had any sort of abduction experiences aside from that time when you were younger on the porch, or any kind of extraterrestrial experiences before you noticed that
and
implant?
not that I really noticed. Like I had a couple weird instances when I was over in Europe. I was in Germany for a while, and when I was younger, and I had some very very weird um, instances there when abroad. Saw some very weird. I don't know if you'd call it demonic, but definitely I had never seen a human being look like that before. And if this was theatrics, man, these people were living in the wrong little town in the middle of nowhere with cobblestone streets. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've seen some very strange stuff there in Europe, all over Europe, and West Virginia. I've been all over the United States too. I've seen a lot of really strange things, but never directly like those two stories that I told you. Like maybe ghosts and stuff like that, or what people would consider spirits. I don't know what they are. You know, it's hard to tell.
Would you consider so? Here's a question I have. So about the implant. So, and I think I
Right.
asked you this before when we spoke before. How long did it take you when you first noticed that there was something odd until you got that thing out?
Oh man, it was instantaneous. It was almost like that feeling you have when you have a tick on you, and that you know that it dug in.
So you woke up. So basically, you woke up one morning and you noticed that it was on your or chest or whatever chest area
No,
or throat area.
that's a whole other different thing
Oh, that's a
that can
different one.
happen. Yeah. This was
Okay.
years ago. This was in like 2013, maybe 2013 or 14.
Okay, gotcha. So
Yeah.
so this particular one, you just noticed it basically as soon as you woke up one day or one evening or whenever you woke up.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And it
Wow.
was just like I knew it was weird because like everyone has had acne or sebaceous cysts and stuff like that, which is totally normal. But this was not that, you know what I'm saying, man? It
Mm-hmm.
like um and it felt weird, man. Like I said, it felt like, when you had a tick and it set in on you, man. And it'd been, it's been there for a little bit, but you don't really know how long. But it's a little too uncomfortably long.
Wow. Now, not to jump too far ahead, but what about the second one? You said so you know,
So this is
they
recently.
or the one that you said did they put another one? You said in the back of your neck or
Oh
something?
yeah, that. So when I removed it, when they came and tried taking me out of the house, and I kicked it, they definitely put one in after that. But this one is in my muscle. It's deep,
Okay, so
and
you can't really
it,
get to that one probably without
no, I could
surgery or something.
probably, yeah, I could probably figure that out. But I'm really not trying to go through all that again. And
Understood.
what's strange is I don't know why, whatever their space dope or whatever they got to, keep people in some altered state, so that they can perpetrate what they're doing, which is what seemingly was going on, but they had no clue that this shit wasn't working. And, I was like awake the whole time. And once I noticed that they were like getting me out of the room for real, and like I was heading down the hallway, that's when I started to trip out, man. You know what I mean?
Where do you think they were taking you? Were they trying to take you out of the house?
Yeah, dude. Yep, absolutely.
Wow.
And like I said, they don't even need to open doors or windows.
And so from there, so that's 2014. Where do we go from there? Because I know
So,
there's still stuff happening, and I'll let
oh,
you
there's stuff,
continue the.
there's crazy stuff happening all over the place. But like as far as like implant type stuff, I don't know what this would be considered. This thing I recently pulled out of my chest.
I
Um,
can I stop you just right there? Was there any other experiences you had between then and the recent stuff that's been
not
happening?
that I was ever aware of.
Okay, gotcha. So they
That
realized they had to bring out the extra strength space
I
dope
don't. Yeah,
for
I don't
you.
know what the deal is with that, man. I don't know if it's a frequency or they
Mm-hmm.
use electromagnetics to just like scramble that portion of your brain. I don't know. But it seemed like whatever it was that they were doing, it wasn't doing it. So, uh, yeah, that's what happened. So, um, yeah, it was very strange. So when I got back here or whatever, deposited back on my couch. Uh, yeah, that's when I had noticed that immediately that I had another bump, but off to off a little bit from where the other original one was that I had taken out. So,
Very strange indeed. So
yeah.
lead us into the most recent stuff because that's okay. I was mistaken before. That's what we actually spoke about not too
Yeah,
long
I
ago.
actually sent you a picture of that. Did I send you a picture of that?
You did, and it was very
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. That was like a hole. So I've been bit by all kinds of poisonous insects. You know what I mean? Like more than just like spider, like normal spiders and um flying insects like wasps and bees and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know what a good old black widow or a widow hybrid or I know what a poisonous bite does. And this was not like that, but very similar. um I don't know what this was because this happened in the wintertime, so there would be no organisms like that would travel with flies. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
From the farms around here, from the horse barns, because that's the only place that I know is cow farms and horse farms is where those like certain parasites will bore into the cow, and the larvae will just like plop out after it gets all fat, right? And yeah, it's really gross. I've worked at some horse farms, so um, yeah, it's when they get those, I guess they're called bot flies or screw worms and whatnot. Oh man, that's creepy parasitic stuff. But my point with all this is this one was much different. This was like alien looking, but it didn't look like technology per se. I don't know if you have seen that one clip of like they made these artificial like limbs, but like they're like organs, right? And it kind of looks like a really messed up, bizarre world chicken that's Frankenstein together. But like once these artificial organs that they've created uh, are placed together, they kind of like bond with each other, and like they have a little appendage and they could pull themselves, and it's like a little chicken wing. You know what I'm saying, man? Have you ever seen that footage?
I believe I have seen some of that.
Right, right. Well, imagine that, but like it didn't look segmented like that thing. Or like I don't know if you're familiar with Morgellons or Morgellons, or let's see. There's a lot of weird stuff with fibromyalgia and a lot of other diseases that are being ignored completely. Like a lot of people aren't aware of like Chagas disease is coming back from the assassin bugs. Um, that's a big deal right now. So that and the ticks, they're all carrying different things. And really, to be honest with you, it could have been, something like that, man. I don't know what this was, but it was like as big as a racquetball, dead center of my chest, man. And then it took maybe 2 weeks. Then I thought it was like gonna burst, and I was just like, "There's just no way this could be, you know, zit or anything like that, or even a spider bite." Like I've been bit by brown recluse and widows, and I know what they do. And this was not any kind of thing like that. I've been bit by poisonous snakes too, and this is nothing like that. Um, so after about 2 weeks, I was trying to like do a moist compress on it, and I noticed that like I peeled it. It looked like a scab, like a bullet hole, like a gaping wound, with a deep scab, right? And what was really strange is that when I pulled this thing out of my chest, the scab part was like the exposed part. Like if this thing was parasitic, then it would have been breathing, or eating or whatever through that open channel, right? Well, it the thing looks like a parasite that's attached to that part that I was telling you right now about, like how it looked like the exposed scab part was of the actual like mouth, and then everything else was up underneath that area, like because it was like fairly big, man. It didn't look like a worm though, man. And this thing looks like I looked into like Morgellons cases and different weird fringe can't explain illnesses going on from some of these insect infestations that are just randomly Bill Gates and out of nowhere, right? So um yeah, it's seemingly that's something like that. This wasn't like, I don't know if there's technology in it. I haven't really analyzed it yet, but it's very strange looking. I'll have to get pictures of it and send it to you so that you can see that part, because you only saw it when basically there was just a giant gaping hole there, you know?
Right. Would you say this is more biological than
Yes,
mechanical?
yes, but I think it's also both to some extent. I think that it's what would you, well, you know how, like, you know, nanoparticles can get into the bloodstream. Well, this thing um is completely, it's like a different type of thing. I don't understand how this works, or how the mechanism, how they form. Um but this thing was gigantic for for just some random thing I pulled out of a hole in my chest, man. It was like I said, it looked a lot like a worm. It had attributes of that, but it didn't look like parasitic at all in the normal sense, man. It looked very mitocardosis or whatever, man. It looked very suspect, dude.
How did it heal up since then?
Well,
Or
it
how have
healed
you
up
healed?
just fine. I just have a big scar there. Like I got shot in the chest with a 45, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty big hole. I could stick my finger down to my breastplate. That's how you could see the bone at first.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know what this thing was, because like um very strange, very strange.
Do you think that has anything to do with your previous experiences and implants?
I have no clue, to tell you the truth, man. Like I said, this was apples and oranges compared to this thing, the first one I pulled out. That thing was technology. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That thing had it looked like uh organic technological stuff going on with it, man. It looked like a chip. And when I looked at it really close, yeah, it was mind blowing. And like I said, it had this membrane, but it was no bigger than a rye seed, like a whole rye seed. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Now, have you had any other, excuse me, have you had any other abduction experiences since?
No, no, I haven't. A couple years ago, it was probably about 5 or 6 years ago. Um, it was over the winter. I took the dog out for a walk, and this is just a random story. Chill out, bird. Shh, be quiet. So I'm taking him out to go do his business, and I'm walking through the field and between the yards here to go towards the road in the neighborhood. So I'm walking towards the road through the yards, and there's these like giant pine trees that my neighbor lady has that like encircles her little house. It's really cool. It's like magical in there. You know what I mean? Um, anyway, so I'm bypassing, like walking up my literal, like my driveway. I'm just cutting across the field there, and I'm starting to hear something really weird, like just like flickering. Like first, it sounded like kids with baseball cards or playing cards and the spokes of their bike. You know, and how kids used to do that back in the day. I don't know if you are
Oh, definitely.
familiar with that.
Oh, sure.
So yeah,
Yep.
and then and I'm like walking the dog, and it's really dark out that night, and it's kind of snowing a little bit, but not a lot. Um, just like kind of patchy snow, but real light. Um, ground's crusty. I'm walking the dog. I'm hearing the flickering and the fluttering like that, right? And then it starts to sound like well, you're from Carolina, right? So
Yep.
I'm sure you're familiar with what you know what tieback is, and when they build new buildings, especially in down on the shore, man, anywhere, even in North Carolina, South Carolina, you're down by the water and you're in a new home area where there's like neighborhoods putting up houses. You know what tieback sounds like in high wind, right?
Absolutely.
Or a tarp that's not nailed down properly. When
Hmm.
high wind hits that, it'll really make a really crazy noise. Well, I'm starting to hear this stuff everywhere, man. And it's starting to morph into different types of sounds, right? Like, but it ultimately just like this weird fluttering sound. And the dog's not freaked out. He's not even letting me know he's worried about any of that business. He doesn't even care about it. And it was loud enough to make me start looking around. So I pulled out the flashlight and I'm looking around, and I'm looking at, on the ground and like maybe 2 stories high on the neighbor's house, because maybe like there was something fluttering. I didn't know what it was, but it was like weird. And I was trying to explain it and couldn't find it with the flashlight. And I'm looking all around, and I go up higher, and I'm doing the 360 with a flashlight, holding my dog leash in the other hand. He's pulling me everywhere, and I'm trying to find where this fluttering's coming from, right? And I'm like, it can't be up higher than those pine trees in the neighbor's yard, right? That I was telling you about. And it was. And I keep going up and up, looking 360, trying to find the source of this noise. And then I spot something in the sky, and I'm looking at this thing, and it looks like this, like a skinny gargoyle, bat thing with a bird head, just falling down, like straight feet first, arms straight up. And that's what was flapping, dude. It was its wings. So this thing's wings were integrated. Its arms were integrated into its wings. So um, it was just like its arms straight up in the air, free falling, and uh, feet first. And I'm watching this thing falling and flapping, and finally realize what it was, and I'm like, what the hell, man? And I'm looking at this thing, and I pulled my gun out and put one in the tube, and put the flashlight and the gun back on it, and it stopped. It just stopped, dude, from a free fall. It just froze midair, just suspended there, maybe like 100 feet off the ground. Because I got one of those intense flashlights that pretty much they light up the sky. And I was looking at this thing in pretty good detail. It like I said, I hit it with the light the second time, but that time I was armed at that point because this thing was really crazy looking and huge. It was massive. If it wanted to, it could have scooped my dog and me up with no problem. Like it was yeah. This thing could pick a cow up and fly off with it, dude. That's how big this thing was. But its body was like pink, like a pig, like a farm pig. Um, and like, but it was defined, man. It was like ripped. It had abs, but its torso was extremely long. Um, had a very long torso, but it was like ripped like Bruce Lee. Yeah, very weird. And so I have the gun on it and the flashlight. Dog's still not tripping out over this. Is what's happening. It's frozen in the sky, and then it just automatically it like flipped, like did a barrel roll after maybe being like suspended like that for about 50 seconds. Did this weird barrel roll, and it flung its wings out, and then contorted, and then it folded its wings back, and it shot straight into that neighbor lady's uh, thick rows of pine trees that are gigantic. Um, and I heard it shoot through like, a gap in the tree, and then hit the ground and like run off. But dude, I don't know what that was. And some people are like, "Yeah, you seen the Mothman? That was the Mothman." I don't know, man. That one was a very strange thing too. Like I'm super uneasy at night now around here. Ever since that happened, I've just been real weird at night, and I never had a problem with it before that. Like I could go out in the middle of nowhere at nighttime, just by myself with nothing, and not be freaked out. But this got me a little bit scared, man. This thing could have, like I said, it could have taken me and flown away with me without a problem, without an issue.
It almost sounds more like the Jersey Devil than the Mothman.
You know what, man? It had what I could see of its face. It looked like a bird's head, but its wings were not that of a bird. There was no feathers. Like, I don't know, man. It was very strange. Like it had like a beak, like a bird.
That's a
Like
depiction that goes all the way back to ancient Egypt.
right, like Thoth and stuff, man. Yeah, it totally looked. But here's the thing, man. Its wings, they were like bat-like. You know what I mean?
That's what makes
Uh,
me think Jersey Devil, because that's the way they describe the wings of the Jersey Devil. It's like bat-like
yeah,
wings.
yeah, and then it had like bird of prey type talons, like claws for feet.
Wow. So that's how it
Yeah,
would have scooped you up if it wanted to, probably by the
yeah,
feet.
yeah, absolutely, man. And they were gnarly looking, man. Just like you. think of like an eagle's claw, but
But
a bazillion times bigger.
it knew what a gun was, apparently.
It knew what a gun was,
That's
dude.
fascinating.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a lot of weird, right down the road going to the Ohio Valley out of Morgantown. Um, I mean, there's all kinds of weird research laboratories all over the place. You know what I'm saying, man? Like
Yes.
this thing could have been something like that. I don't know though, man. I really don't know. This, like I said, it looked like a gargoyle, but it had like human characteristics. It had human traits, but they were like distorted. Like I said, it was I could see abs and it being totally ripped. Like this thing was extremely ripped, but it was real long, like and skinny. Like yeah, it was very strange. Like think of like three of Bruce Lee's long, like three of Bruce Lee's whole like chest and torso in
Wow.
a row, and then legs and then arms that went into the wings. Yeah, yeah. Bird head.
There's definitely some weird activity going on around where you're at. And
Yeah, absolutely, man. And we're not far from Parkersburg, West Virginia. That's like a couple hours. Um, you know, going towards Morgantown again, like yeah, it's pretty crazy. And we're on all kinds of weird um there's a lot of weird stuff going on up around here that you'd probably be interested in. But all in the Appalachian Mountains on our end, on this end, man, too. Like I don't know what it is, like, if it's the Civil War, some of it, and some of these things are ghosts. I don't know, but that thing that I saw in the sky was definitely no ghost. And if it wanted to catch me and run away and fly away with me, it would have no problem. Like I said, it could have double fisted a dude my size. Like,
wow.
yeah, I don't know if it could have flown away with a quarter horse, but it could have made off with a goat or a deer or a nice sized young cow, dude, like a year cow.
Mm-hmm.
It could have definitely just snagged up and just flown away with it, no problem.
You
So
know,
I don't know what that was.
there's certain areas. East Tennessee is one of them where they have a lot of. It's like they're all congregated in one area of just strange, all sorts of different strange sightings and experiences. And then you have like areas, I guess, like where you're at. They seem to all be concentrated, and I'm not sure what all that's about. But that just seems to be a phenomenon where there's
Yeah,
certain areas
yeah.
where there's just high concentrations, and then you have certain areas where there's nothing. So that's very odd.
Well, we have some weird beginnings of the MK Ultra project testing that actually went down not too far from where I'm at right this second. And yeah, it's well documented. Pretty crazy. You can try and I'll send you some links to that so that you can check that out. But yeah, this is a weird place. There's a lot of like retired CIA and FBI and military people here. And there's a lot of Army Corps engineer interests. And it's really strange. Like anymore, I'm starting to notice that a lot of these UFO or whatever we think are UFOs, these crafts are coming out of the ocean. They're coming out of the ground, and they're really not coming from the sky. And I think these things that people have been seeing in the last couple of weeks, these like fireballs and all that whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
I'm fairly certain that they're just these coils they toss out of high altitude balloons. Um, and basically they look a lot like a comet. Um, but they're really nothing like a comet if you really have ever seen comets. But they can fool people, you know what I mean? It looks way weirder than some sort of like firework or some other kind of thing that could manipulate somebody, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But basically they just look like these like they're like a bigger than a dodgeball ball, and it's just like a copper matrix of like this like vortex, right? And I don't know if they pack it with magnesium or whatever they do to set it off, but basically they throw them out of like you know those big high altitude planes, man, and tow them, and then just let them go, and then they just people find them all the time, burn up. Is that all the case? That yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's awfully strange how many Bigfoot sightings and how many fireballs and weird sky anomalies we've had and within the last couple months. Not even like last couple months, but man, like if you've been paying attention since 2011, and even before that, like it's been ramped up, man. But just things are just so ridiculously ramped up now. It's like it's hard to tell definitively what these things that are in the sky are and where they come from. But what I'm thinking where they're coming from is out of the ground and out of lakes and underground facilities, man, and in the deep ocean.
There's a very real possibility that everything that we're seeing, even if it's not from quote unquote us, is from here. And we don't even
Right.
have to say that they're from another planet or galaxy or wherever or dimension, or even dimension. They everything could
Right.
be here.
Correct, dude. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with some of the speculations about Antarctica and what's beyond Antarctica. And
I've probably heard all the different speculations on that.
yeah, yeah. So you follow me on that. So like, there's a good possibility that they're from these other step ups. Yeah. I think there's several of those step ups, and we're kind of at the bottom of the. It's like an upside down Devo hat from that movie or from that video with the kid.
Yep, yep.
Just envision that, but upside down. And like we're at the bottom of like an inverted pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it just terraces up. But each one of those terraces, those sections of like outward expanse are ridiculous. You know what I'm saying, man? Like, uh, I don't think that we know what's going on. And I think that the way everything works is, it's compartmentalized. Everything's compartmentalized. Everything's on a need to know basis. And I think a lot of that hinders true scientific research on this stuff is, and how long have they been BSing around with disclosure? It's just, it's never ending. And, but, they're like, oh, next year. And then nothing ever happens and they never disclose anything.
Oh yeah, they're
So,
just putting a carrot out there, putting the carrot in front of the horse.
yeah, man. I mean, there's a lot of really, really weird things going on, and there's a lot of really weird injustices, especially geared towards these kids, man. And it seems like they're, it's just like there's some really, really, really bad individuals. So it's hard to tell, and this ties back to what we first talked about those the face peeler thing from South America, where they tried to take that little girl,
Mm-hmm.
um, away on those hoverboards, um, or discs or whatnot. I mean, it, it it could be black ops. It could be serious black budget, upper echelon people that make Jeffrey Epstein look like a choir boy, bro. Like, and it exists, sadly. You know,
Agreed.
those people exist, is what I'm trying to tell you. Like,
Oh, sure. Sure.
yeah, yeah. Jeffrey Epstein was like the lowest hanging fruit, bro.
Sure. That's if people don't think that he is way low on the totem pole of how bad it actually gets, I think they're very
Yeah, oh
mistaken.
yeah,
They're very foolish.
yeah. It's horrible, man.
And the think that he was like the one. How many other Jeffrey Epsteins are there out there? There's got to be with all the
Right,
different
and
countries.
and honestly, to be truthful, it's not the Jeffrey Epstein, as sick as this is to say this, because it sounds really sick on the surface, but really think about what I'm saying. Like, Jeffrey Epstein isn't even what we need to be concerned with. There are people and entities way worse than Jeffrey Epstein's.
Oh, right. The ones
Than
who
Jeffrey
enable people
Epstein.
like him to even exist.
Yeah, and then there's even the top of that top, and then the the alpha echelon, top of the pyramid, and we'll never know who those people are.
I kind of do because when I worked in New York, I would work these super high end events, these super high end events. I worked one event, and I always like to tell this story. I worked one event, and that particular event, it was a global wealth something something. They have all these stupid names for these events, but it was the 10 people that were on stage. They had a Q&A, and they had 10 people on stage, and those 10 people, they said it at the event, owned 50% of the world's wealth. These 10 people, there were 10, and that was like their whole thing.
Yeah, it's like
And
some
oh,
Bilderberg stuff.
100%. And everybody thinks that they're having like these, they meet in like secret, which they maybe do, meet in secret dungeons and caves and stuff. But in general, these people, when they meet, they're in lavish ballrooms, catered. They got people like me operating the audio and video.
Right.
And they speak in a language that's very, very weird. All these money Goldman Sachs people, et cetera, et cetera. They speak in
Yeah,
this
yeah.
language to where the common person. Now, I did so many of the events, I could start picking up on what they were talking about. But they talk even worse than the Wall Street people talk. They have this lingo where it's almost like it's code that only the super wealthy can understand. It's very strange. But not to get too far
Yeah.
off topic, I wanted to ask you, going back to that first implant, was that the one you said was stolen?
Yeah, that was missing when I came home.
Yeah, if you could tell just a little more in detail about that, I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah. So basically, it was about the size of a rye seed, like a whole rye seed, you know. Um, and then it had this weird membrane over it. And when I looked at it under a scope, it definitely had mechanical properties to it. Um, it was weird. It had like a clear gelatinous membrane around it, but
And
it's
you
like I pulled it out, and I was just like, man, that's really strange looking. And I took a shower, and I kind of just like put it on a napkin after I got it out, and I took a shower, and I got out, and I looked at it again, and I was like, that really doesn't look like something that should have been in my skin. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
or under it. It was, and then when I looked at it more in depth, like I said, it was definitely mechanical in nature. Like it was very strange.
And so you put it in a bag and you had to go to work. Is that correct?
No, I put it in like I had this really heavy duty tape that if you like wanted to laminate something with this tape, you could totally laminate something with this tape.
Oh,
It's
sure.
an old
I
school
know
product.
exactly what you're
It's an
talking about.
old school product that I found a big spool of many years ago and have since run out of, but you get my point. Yeah, I put it in a sliver of that and just folded it in half, right?
Mm-hmm.
And stuck it on top of my fridge and buggied on to work, buddy.
And then you're at work. How many hours were you at work?
Uh, Probably between 8 and 10. Yeah, because that was when I was doing foreman work for construction and
So
overseeing a bunch of guys.
so how many? So that's what about 8 hours, 10 hours, something like that.
It just depends on
Actually,
what
that'll be
the
more. That would be 12. That would be almost 14 hours. If it's
sometimes, yeah, sometimes we would have to do stuff like that, just depending on the priority
so
of the
with it,
customer.
so within 10 or that amount of time that you were gone, you came back and then it was gone. It was missing. Somebody had taken it.
Yeah, something, yep, somebody, something knew where it was,
See,
which is making me believe that there's some sort of tracking device,
see, that's
and
fascinating right there.
they knew exactly where it was, dude.
And that your doors were locked when you got back.
Yeah,
There was
yeah,
no
yeah,
sign of
yeah.
breaking and entering or anything.
No, but it
Wow.
felt like someone was here.
See,
It's
that's
like,
just that right there is the icing on the cake for that story. I mean, it was a crazy ass story to begin with,
yeah,
but then they
yeah, and I
stole
don't
it
know
or they
what
came back
I
for it.
guess, yeah, I guess they didn't want me showing that out. It's crazy. Like they destroy my stuff, man. When I get footage of stuff with my, my super zoom camera and equipment, they they tend to destroy that. It's co-
You should have flushed it and then they would have had to go playing in either the septic tank or the sewers just
oh,
to play a
that's
little joke on
brutal,
them.
bro. That's a dirty, dirty trick.
See, that's the way my brain thinks. I'm like, how can I get back at these guys?
Okay, Mister Secret Black Ops Fed Boy,
Yeah, have fun playing in the
digging the
septic.
poo. Ew, bro, that's gross. But
Yeah,
yeah, dude, make them work for it. But no,
right.
I don't know if it was people. But like I said, dude, I didn't say anything. It just happened like an hour before I took off to go to work at 7 o'clock. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So this has been about 5:30. I'm drinking coffee, just waking up, rubbing my shoulder, like, what is this? And kind of just was squeezing it, and yeah, it just came right out.
And then that next night is when you got back. That's when they came back because I think you annoyed them that you took it out. I mean, I think that's why. Or
Yeah.
maybe they don't get quote unquote annoyed, but they were not pleased. I guess we'll put it that way.
I don't know, man. It wasn't pleasant. Like when I kicked the thing and I heard it real bad, they hurt me physically, dude. Like when they pinned me down onto the floor, like
Mm-hmm.
that was extremely painful, man. Whatever they were doing,
Did
was
any of
just
that
brutal.
was any of that residual into the next day? Like, did you have any aches or pains the next day after that?
You know
From
what?
that?
No, man. No. When I just woke up on the couch and I was like, I didn't fall asleep on the couch, and I sure as hell didn't wander out here either. So, yeah.
Well, you're going to have to let me know if they come back and any other strange stuff happens. Because it's been so, let's see, it's been 12 years now since you've had any sort of memory of any sort of abduction or actual seeing those particular creatures or whatever you want to call them.
Right.
And how do you feel about that? Would you prefer just to never see them ever again? Do you think that they're still
Well,
doing it, but you just don't remember it?
yeah,
What are your thoughts?
I think they're doing it, only it's like a new version of technology along with like different um yeah, it's just like a different level of the technology is shifted and got and different a little bit. So for example, like my daughter keeps seeing what she's describing and what I'm perceiving as like sort of like what people consider shadow people.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, it's hard to tell. This, like I said, this house is so weird, man. There's all kinds of weird stuff going on. It's hard to tell what it is. I mean, I don't know, man.
So, what would you say if your best guess? What would you say all this is? But
Well,
between, we'll skip because who knows what that winged creature was. That could be a million different things. But as far as
yeah.
the extraterrestrial or quote unquote extraterrestrial, what would your best guess be of what they actually are?
Um, Either they're from somewhere out in the other expanses out past Antarctica, like we were saying, or there's some sort of breakaway civilization. Um, and I think they're right here, and they're just right below us. You know what I mean? And physical and literal. Like I think that there are portholes to these other places you can get to in the deep ocean too. Like um, very strange, fascinating things that could be going on. You know, they wanna throw out their Artemis mission like they're doing something, but there's something to be seen with some of these things. That and the Tartarian thing, and uh, the mud flood stuff. There's something huge happened, and seemingly they don't want us to know about this stuff. So it seems like every time that I come across something that seems like it's a conspiracy or something like that, I don't gravitate to these things. But like, if things make sense, they make sense. So I don't know. It's just all on the individual's perspective, I suppose, right? Like it all just it all just comes down to what your mindset is. Like, either you think that it's this way or you think it's that way. Honestly, what I think this is a giant biodome type thing, and it's so incredibly humongous and vast. It's mind blowing, but it's got aspects of like holographic technology as well as organic life and everything like that, right? So um, that's what I think we're in. We're in like something like that. I don't think we're hucking through the universe that 6,666 million miles an hour on an axis. I can, pour a glass of water and set it down on my table, and I don't see any observable tilt. But that's just a joke. But and it's such a poor flat Earth gripe from the globe people. So what's funny is I'm not a flat earther. Like I said, I believe that we live in a simulation slash hologram type thing that's both organic and inorganic in nature. So um, there's that. That's just what I personally think through just some personal understandings and some things that have happened. Yeah, that's what I believe. But who knows? It's all very interesting. And if these things are real and they're not just some like mega rich or some skunk works doing some nefarious shit, dude, or like abducting people for their weird sacrifices, because I assume that's what like I don't know, man. And then there's the whole like, are vampires real? Could this be connected to something like that? It's all very strange, man. It's just like the 411 stuff. All this stuff is just too too mass spread to be ignored. And there's something there they definitely don't want people knowing about, because they're doing everything they can to try and ignore it and skirt it. You know what I mean? All these topics, crazy stuff's going on. That's all I know. And like what these things are and where they come from, I'm really not sure. But like, it could be something completely oblivious to like what we're thinking, man. Like I said, like there's always the vampire theory, dude. If there was vampires that have lived for thousands of years by doing what they do, like they've got mad technology, bro. You know what I mean?
Right? It could be like Blade on steroids with super
Oh
technology.
yeah, because it kind of is like Blade on steroids, man. But only they're doing weird stuff, like trying to like I don't know. I don't even know, man. Because like the vampire premise is a very weird one, man, because like you're kind of stuck in that, there's no it's just it'd be a weird happening to have bestowed upon oneself the gift of immortality, and that's in that sense. It's very strange premise, man. And if it did exist and the stories are true, they've been pirating stuff for eons, dude. Maybe even since Egypt, or before.
That's also a possibility. All cards are on
Yeah,
the table.
yeah, that's what I'm kind of starting to think, that like we're blurring the lines between like what we think is extraterrestrial and some of this stuff. I don't know, man. I mean, some of this stuff could honestly just be like some drones. People make crazy shit in their basements and launch it, dude. You can make weird balloons that you can throw some LED stuff in there and make it do really cool looking things in the air. You know what I'm saying, bro?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not out here debunking and slamming people's, but like, dude, I've seen a bunch of legitimate things that truly warp my mind. And this, a lot of this stuff is starting to come out, and people are like, they can't ignore it anymore because they're talking about this stuff on the mainstream news now. They have to include little snippets of the conspiracy theory world now, because YouTube and other online news sources are dominating everything, dude. TV is dead, dude, and they got to somehow figure out a way to keep relevant, because all this shit keeps coming true, bro. Like, they can't keep the band-aids on this shit anymore, man. The dam is about to burst, dude.
Yep. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens next.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is crazy times for sure, dude.
Yep. Well, Zippo, I appreciate
Yeah,
you coming
buddy.
on the show. And if anything else strange happens, you're going to have to let us know and come back on and give us an update.
I will do. I'll get a couple other, little sniggity snaps together, and I'll get a hold of you, but I'll definitely send you some pictures when I get a hold of them. I gotta find some pictures that I have been meaning to send you, but give me a couple days, man, and I'll send them out to you. But other than that, buddy, thanks for having me on, and you have a good night, man.
Awesome. Nope. Thank you for coming on. And to everyone, we will see you on the next one. Goodbye, everybody.